Thanks, Matt. And I think you actually meant to say, fortunately, Nadine is here. Well, unfortunately, is that a bit too loud? I'll try not to. So, the title of my talk today is Facilitating Water-Sensitive Urban Design Through Natural Resource Management and Partnerships. And I'd like you to pause there and congratulate me on managing to get so many big words and acronyms in the title. Oh, I did it already in the title. So I'm going to assume that, given that it's an NRM conference, that everyone here is fairly comfortable with NRM. But there's another big acronym in there, and that's WUSD. And I know this is the urban urban water section, but there may be some who are not familiar with WUSD as, say, I am in this session. So I'm just going to quickly say, what is WUSD? Well, it's water-sensitive urban design, as my title said, but it's also known as low-impact development or sustainable drainage systems, which relate to sustainable water management, integrated water management, the urban water cycle, urban ecology, which I now don't have to talk about as much because that was a whole plenary session, livable, which relates to livable cities, green cities and green infrastructure, which all lead to resilient cities and water-sensitive cities. Is that any clearer for anyone? Well, instead of saying what is water-sensitive urban design, I'm going to quickly switch to why water-sensitive urban design. Now, we have been hearing all about the urban environment this morning, and the urban environment involves putting concrete down and impermeable, I always get those two mixed up, concrete everywhere. This, in the old system of stormwater design, means that if water falls in the urban environment, we get rid of it as quickly and efficiently as possible when we put trapezoidal drains that are concrete and get it out of here. Of course, this has a few impacts. It leads to more runoff because we're not infiltrating, we have less infiltration, we have higher flow peaks, we've got more water, the flow peaks come quicker, and with them comes nutrients and sediments and oils and litters and organics. So, it's not very good for the urban ecology, it's not very good for the ecology of the system, aquatic ecology, the marine environment, etc. So water-sensitive urban design aims to address these issues through designing the system. And this has multiple benefits, and I could go on for like 10-hour lecture about how good water-sensitive urban design is, but that's not the key point of my talk. I do want to touch on the other acronym I managed to get in there today, which is the natural resource management. We are in the natural resource management area of the Adelaide and Mount Lofty ranges for the next little while anyway, until it changes. But what we have here is 6,600 kilometres squared of land. That's not including the marine area. But it also houses 1.3 million people, as in 80% of South Australia's population, which means there is a big urban area, which means if we want to look after the natural resource management of the Adelaide Mount Lofty ranges and the NRM region, we need WUSD. And that's what we came to the conclusion as a small team, well, before I started really, the importance of WUSD to AMLR. So the next part of for the rest of my talk, I'm going to quickly go through how we've tried to promote WUSD within the AMLR region from a small team with a limited budget. So there's 4 key areas that, if you want to promote a new design paradigm, because really, essentially, that's what it is that we've been focusing on. That's research, capacity building, on-ground works of large and small scale, and community engagement. Now, of course, small team, relatively small budget, you can't do these things by yourself. It's underpinned, and I think this thing does keep coming through, by collaboration and relationships with people. So I'm just going to quickly demonstrate in the 7 minutes I've got left how we've been going about this to give you an idea of what's happening around Adelaide or the Mount Lofty ranges. So first of all, research. Clearly, small team, you're not going to do the research yourself, so we've partnered with the CRC Water Sensitive Cities and Promote their work, which is doing the science, which is doing the research. And the key collaborations and relationships with that are the academic and industry and across nationally and state, across Australia, and all the academics through there and what they're doing. What I also find interesting though, and I think this theme came out, is it's not just the research that says you need this much granular sand of this to make it a good water-sensitive urban design. A lot of their research has actually gone into social science now and how we can change the paradigm that way. But we also need to, if we've got a new paradigm in design management, in designing things, we need to capacity build the actual industry and the local councils to build these sort of things. So the key collaborators and relationships there are local government. We've got practitioners, planners, operations staff who look after the water-sensitive urban design features, developers, architects, research, the community. So the way that this has been done, and I think many of you would have heard about this, is through the establishment of water-sensitive SA, which is run through, it's run independently now with the board, but it was established through the board, and it uses in collaboration with a lot of other partners. So the main aim of that is to capacity build within the local region, the use and the trying to promote WISD as business as usual as opposed to the new fancy thing. And we also, I guess, as a small team, and I think what I find interesting is we talk about collaboration between big industry and groups and that sort of thing, but it actually does come down to personal relationships a lot on those sort of things. So within, is that telling me I'm finished already? Oh, yeah. So within the small group of people we've got, we also offer technical assistance. We act as a connector to say that the local government, so that someone can come up and say, I'm thinking about this project, and you say, oh, that's been done over here, or that's been done over there. So that's really the connecting across the region. And we're also running a grants program for people who want to implement water-sensitive urban design, whether it's through strategic planning or through on-ground works. But it's all very well to tell people and to show the research that WSID is a really good thing to do, but we also need to demonstrate through on-ground works to say, look, here's something and it actually works. Without going to WSID as, 3-hour lecture here, I guess that we can go from street scale stuff. So with the City of Adelaide, we've put in some, we've helped co-fund some street scale designs of rain gardens, as you can sort of see there. So that's a really small small WSID feature that people can walk past every day. On a slightly bigger scale, we've got on-ground works. We've got a biofilter right in the middle of that photo there. That's partnered with a local primary school, Flagstaff Hill Primary School. To larger features, so instead of, I guess, a couple of square metres of a rain garden, with the City of Marion, we've converted a, I guess it's the back of people's property erosion pit into the grade crescent wetlands, so that the community can come out and enjoy that area, and the water is being treated and held back and filtered instead of just creating an erosion gully. We've also got other larger ones, and I guess this, fortunately, there's going to be a talk on this in a couple talks that I sort afterwards. But for a major stormwater treatment wetland, you need our funding, you need council funding, and you need federal funding. So that's how this project, the Oaklands wetland, came together. And that's a treatment wetland that takes water from Sturt River, treats it, but then it also goes through an irrigation centre, irrigation. So that's just a plan of the wetland and how it's come up today from what was, I think it was an old car park that used to have a BMX track or something on it. But I guess the fourth pillar in our approach, in this multi-pronged approach to try and promote WSID, is that we can talk about the research, we can build the capacity of the industry to deliver on the research, we can demonstrate how it works in real projects, but we still need to actually get the community on board, and that's where community engagement is necessary. So we can do small things like with the Oaklands wetland, you can do community approaches to say, oh, this is a treatment wetland, it's got these features, this is what it does. You can be a bit more active involvement. So there's been, at, say, the Oaklands wetland, there's been citizen science projects and bio-blitzes to really get people there and involved to demonstrate that this is a new urban built way of designing things. On a smaller scale, we can tell people there's a rain garden. People are sitting there might be going, well, a rain garden, is that rain and there's a garden? Like, what is it actually? So we can build a demonstration garden. This is what Sam put together, and you can see this one actually sits in the joinery if anyone's interested, but you can see, instead of seeing just the top, like you can see on the street where you see a few rocks and plants, and unless you're really excited about WSID and engineering, you're kind of going, what the hell is that? You can see how it works here, and you can, although it's not very movable, it's a ton of soil, we can take photos and explain it and take this out to the community. But community is also interested in smaller scale things, so I guess heading more into a community engagement team and the not-for-profit sector, we're also supporting programs like Living Smart and Woossit in your backyard, because Woossit doesn't just have to be on the streets and these massive wetlands, it can be in your backyard. Oh, I knew I'd do that again. And I guess one other area which I haven't touched upon that I did notice the plenary did touch upon was, I guess, increasing recognition of the importance of place and the Aboriginal community and engaging there. So we are also expanding to this area. It's a new area and trying to work through what works there, I guess. But there can be some simple things to start with, like this is at the Glade Crescent wetlands I showed earlier, and they've got some rocks marking the place with some significant words on them. So probably reached about time. I guess I'll just quickly summarise that I was quite glad that plenary speakers this morning highlighted the importance of urban ecology and green cities and heading that way, and Woossit really is a tool that we use to try and promote these things, and the way we've worked and the way is to look at these 4 approaches of research, capacity building, on-ground and community engagement, but they really do need to reach everyone else, so that's where the collaboration and the relationships are key. And I think that's it. Thanks.